good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this or listening to the rebroadcast on Spotify. I am your host, Dr. Lene Javette, and this is Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're going to be having an intellectual conversation, maybe a little bit of debate, definitely a deep discussion. First up, we're going to be talking about the Ohio State Senator George Lang, who got into trouble for what he said at a rally. He claimed that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are the last hope to save our country. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country. Later, he said he regrets those words and they don't reflect his true views. Of course not. Joining me today are our queens. We have Vanessa Gopal, Master's in Public Policy, General Contractor and Entrepreneur. We have Constance Carter, the wealth activist. We have Dr. Alicia, therapist, social worker, professor, and we have the Jade Harrell, educator, organizer, and social entrepreneur. We'll also be discussing later in the episode, we'll talk about the new developments in the Sonya Massey case. We will have a video from her father saying the police are trying to cover up the truth, body cam footage of the officers calling her a bad name, and more about his past. So before we get started, we're going to go to the video of Senator George Lang giving his Civil War remarks, and then we're going to jump right in.
Fight! Fight! We got time. Come on. Hey, we are in the fight for the soul of our nation. We are in a fight for our kids and our grandkids, a fight that we can never imagine. I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
All right, then. He said fight. I counted it. Fight, fight, fight. And then he said fight a couple more times in that, but it was like a 27-second clip. I think he said fight like 7 times, war like 4 times. So let's just go jump right into it. What are your thoughts on Senator George Lang's comments, Jade?
Yes. Well, these are comments, and this is rhetoric that we often hear from the far right. These comments are not surprising after the alleged attempted assassination of the former president, Donald J. Trump, or Donald J. Chump, as some of us like to call him. I mean, he actually raised his fist and said, fight, fight, fight as well. There have been talks of civil war, definitely on the web, definitely within media, independent white media, for example. And I mean, I like my races just to be outright and forthright. So I hear his comments. I see his comments as problematic, but I'm glad that I heard them. So I'll just stop there for now. Thank you.
All right. What about you, Constance? What were your thoughts when you saw that clip first time?
I think it's just poor white trash, doing what they do. And that's be uneducated and violent. They are who represents the fabric of American history. He is rallying up the Confederates. These are people who would have fought in the Civil War as the Confederate. This is exactly who these people are. And this is a dog whistle. This is a call to action. Absolutely. It's kind of like when you go to court and the attorney says something and they know that they're not supposed to say it. And then they go, strike that from the record. And I'll go, okay, I withdraw. Like you didn't hear it in the first place. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing. He knew exactly what he did. He knew how to rally his uneducated Mountain Dew drinking base. These inbreds that marry their sisters and their brothers. They have low IQs. They have limited thinking skills, no comprehension skills. He knows. But the unfortunate part is they have voting power. The dumbest shit. They have voting power, and this is what you do to rally up uneducated, ignorant motherfuckers. That's the best way I can put it.
It's like you can't unring the bell. Welcome to all those who have just joined us in the chat. Let me know what you think. When you saw this clip, what were your thoughts when you heard this, when you saw this? Did you think that he was trying to incite a civil war? And he has since taken it back, right? So he said it, he threw it out there. You can't unring the bell. We heard it. Plus, I always say your first thought of mind is what you really meant. So somebody got him behind closed doors and was like, you can't say that. That looks bad. Take it back. So he took it back. Dr. Alicia, how do you feel about him taking it back? Was he sincere? What do you think?
Well, he's not the only person that's been chanting this fight, fight, fight since Donald Trump chanted that during his assassination attempt. And I think this is the type of language that escalates tensions, and it promotes this atmosphere of chaos. And I mean, we're not having constructive dialogue. We're now going to have confrontation. That's what that tells us. And what's so fascinating about this is that his remarks and all of the other racist remarks that we're hearing from the Republican Party right now, all of us as Black people, we're witnessing white people say, I'm going to be for Trump. And so in a sense, it's like, okay, so you're for the annihilation of our people, because they've out now said what their intentions were. It is very clear what they're campaigning on and what they're pushing forth. And then you witness all these people get on board. And it's so threatening to see that. It's like fight, fight, fight. It's like, we don't care about you. We're going to attack you. And he's foreshadowing this civil war that seems to really be brewing here. And yeah, I mean, people aren't thinking critical thinking skills, Constance. That's another way. We're just blindly following, and it's creating a climate of fear, mistrust. It is something that polarizes people. And we have to now grapple with what we're going to do now in November when this election happens. What's going to happen? How is it going to turn out? And is it going to end in a way where there's going to be unfortunate civil war in our country? And that would be very sad to see.
We can't hear you. Okay.
You're muted. I think she's muted.
Thank you, because I'm just talking, having a good old time over here. Over in the chat, let me know what you guys think. If Donald Trump does not win the presidency, do you think that there will be a civil war? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. There will or there won't. Vanessa, I'm going to give you that same question. How do you feel about him putting it out there and then taking it back? Do you think he meant it? Do you think he was sincere? Do you think that the people who needed to get triggered and activated were triggered and activated? Or do you think that he truly was excited?
I think he truly was excited. I think this is the same sentiments that when we see Black police go in and they feel fearful of Black people, I think he's promoting that narrative of there is white men are, we feel, fearful, we're losing in this country and we need to fight back. That is exactly what he's saying. That is exactly what he meant. And, I have always been a proponent and kind of scared, to be honest, of going to the gun range and practicing, but hear me out. I'm going to start, and it's something that I think we all as Black folks should start because it feels very unsafe in this environment. And him pushing violence is, he knows who he's calling out to. He's saying we will wreak havoc if we don't get what we want because white men are threatened in America. At least that's the narrative that he's pushing. So I don't believe the apology. I think it's bullshit. I think it's just for, political purposes. You have to apologize, but in no way is it sincere. And he definitely meant what he said. And I think that we all should be getting prepared in one way or another. And, I always will say this every time I get an opportunity to speak, show up and vote, but also show up and learn how to shoot a gun too.
Show up and be safe. Jay, why do you think these types of statements get strong reactions from people when you hear something like inciting a civil war? Why do people get excited about something like that?
Yeah, I think from the melanin deficient side or sector of America, they are in fear of genetic annihilation, right? Which is what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about. And just noticing that they are a minority, a numerical minority on the planet, but also now becoming a minority in America. And that, the reigns of white privilege are slowly slipping away from their hands because they have to actually compete. It's not, good enough anymore to just wake up and be white and mediocre. They actually have to compete with so many people that don't look like them in every sector of society. So I think that is why they get riled up on the melanin deficient side, because they've also been preparing for civil war. And they know that for the most part, they have historically been able to kill Black people with impunity and just sort of get away with it. Now, in terms of Black folks being riled up, I mean, there's a lot of fear and a lot of generational trauma, as it relates to white folks, white mobs, white people in authority, inflicting violence and brutality onto our people. And so that is why, folks also get riled up. I also agree with the sister Vanessa that, it was politically correct for him to walk that statement back and to apologize. But I would rather hear more of their plans. I want to hear more of the rhetoric, just so that we know what we're dealing with.
I saw a post somewhere, I can't remember where, I think it was Instagram, that said we're literally witnessing Klan rallies in public. The verbiage, the jargon, the language that they're using, it's as we would say, uncode, right? They're not saying it, but they're saying it in plain sight, in plain English. Who they're speaking to knows who they're speaking to. Let's see. This question says, what impact do you think Senator Lange's comments have on people's views and unity? So when we hear things like that, it sounds divisive, right? Do you think that it is going to sway people one way or the other? Will somebody vote a particular way because they want to try to they don't want to have a civil war, right? So we were talking about people voting for Trump, which I don't know why they would. I don't know if some people haven't read Project 2025. They're not listening. They're not watching the news. They haven't looked at his history. Like, I don't know why people would do it. Some people are like, I made money under Trump's. That's just one thing. I made money under Trump too, but we're talking about life. We're talking about generations. There's so many other things to think about. Do you think, Constance, when people hear these comments from Senator Lange, that it will cause them to change their views about the election, about the presidency, about who they should vote for, about unity in the United States? What do you think?
100%. These people are scrambling. They are scared shitless. And I love it. So on one hand, it's like, okay, this is kind of scary. We don't want this to be America. But on the other hand, I'm loving seeing these racists scramble like the way they are. It's fascinating to me because it's like we on their asses. And listen, this is what I said yesterday on my Instagram. The biggest thing about this Kamala win, the biggest thing is watching these racists be just squeal, because the worst thing in the world for them is not only to have their commander-in-chief a woman, but a Black woman, and to be able to sit and watch this happen because they hate us so much. And all, when after Obama, it just exacerbated and it magnified all of these just uneducated, trash, racist people. And so now we're seeing them on the forefront. These are the people that are right there with the thing on their ear, and it's very cultish, but it's going to be so good, y'all. On November 5th, when we see these white motherfuckers just ready to jump off a bridge, because
I wonder that all the time.
Is the world ready? It's going to be great. I love it.
Is the world ready so there's so many things to unpack in that. Is the world ready to see a Black woman beat a white man? Is the world ready for a woman president, a Black woman president? There's so much. I'm on the edge of my seat.
He set this up because he was so divisive, and they're so belittling. You hear them call her the hot. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what a hot toy person was. Did y'all hear that? Mm. So the Fox News people called her a hot. Basically, they are saying that she got to where she is on her knees. Yeah, they said this on the news, and so they're just saying everything that they can to belittle this Black, intelligent, educated sister. And I know all you guys saying she ain't really Black. She Indian. She Black when it's convenient. Her daddy Black. She was born in America. She is African American. She is a Black woman. She even said, her mom said when she was growing up, we are raising two. I'm raising two Black women. She said this out of her mouth. She recognizes she's Black. She's also Indian. Okay, so just because she's Indian doesn't mean she's not Black. So, but I love all the DEI comments, because then it just, every time I look at somebody that says that, it just, for me, their IQ goes down, because I know that they ain't got, it's the new N word, but I know they ain't got nothing else to say. It just tells me how simple and uneducated, and like I said, lack of critical thinking skills that they have.
And I have to jump in there real quick, because I don't know if you guys heard the clip from the representative from Tennessee. He called Kamala a DEI hire. And it's just the most ignorant thing in the world when you look at this lady's record, and you can even fix your mouth to say it. So yeah, it is I agree, it is the new N word, and it has been thrown around ridiculously. So to your
They
point,
use
Constance.
DEI to disqualify. They use DEI to say that none of the things that you have done, your track record, your education, nothing about who you are and how you earned the right to be where you are counts, because DEI is around. New Fox News guest condemned. Oh, okay. So I think she's showing showing it. This is the article right here. Fox News guest condemned for calling Kamala Harris the original hawk to a girl in reference to her decades-old romance. But yeah, they are definitely using verbiage to discredit, to disqualify Kamala in public, but all Black people. I saw a post that said Black women get prepared to be crucified over the next couple of months, because they're going to go hard at her, and it's not going to necessarily be her, it's going to be Black women in general. So with that, if you want to stay tuned in to what's happening in America with Black women, then you are in the right place. This is Fly Nubian Money. If you want to stay connected to us on a regular basis and know when we're going live, Monday through Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern, you can text the word Queens to 87948. Again, that's Queens to 87948. If you are interested in getting your money life right and together, and you're looking for some free tools and resources, you can go to flynubianmoney.com. It's on the screen down below. And if you miss us live, I think I saw somebody in the chat was like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be here live. Live is the place to be. But if you miss us live, you can also check us out on Spotify at 1:00 Eastern. Look for Fly Nubian Money, and you can catch us there. So let's see. I got my handy dandy notes over here. This 47. This is a sidebar conversation. I mean, have you guys heard of mushroom coffee? I'm 47 and I get serious brain fog. So if I don't have my mushroom coffee or something from my brain fog, I will lose track. But thanks to our producers, I always like to give the producers a shout out, because these notes be helping me stay on track and on time when I be having brain fog. And today is one of those brain fog days. So I'm sorry if I'm looking at my notes a lot today. It's just one of those days. But anyways, Dr. Alicia, how does Divisive talks about politics? How do these types of conversations about politics make us more divisive, especially during an election time? I would say normal election time, but especially right now when we have a Black woman that could be potentially going on the ticket. Has she officially been given the nod? Is she official yet?
I don't think it's official until the convention, right?
Okay. So she's not even the official one just yet. And already there's
kind of. I wanted to just interject and clarify that there will be a virtual call for her. She has secured the delegates, but there will be a protocol on August the 1st, which is coming up very, very soon, in which they will give her the nomination, and then that nomination will be confirmed at the DNC in about a week and a half or 2 weeks. Yeah, so it's a two-step process. I think Ohio was the state that had some issues within the Democratic Party at the state level, and they decided to do a Zoom call to get delegates confirmed, and they were going back and forth about that last week. So that process will happen on August the 1st, and then at the DNC, she'll get sworn in and hopefully not give a 90-minute acceptance speech like Trump did last week. But anyway.
Thank you, Jade. Listen, you always got to have somebody like a Jade on your team, because she comes through with the stats. She knows what's happening. She knows what's going on. Okay. So Dr. Alicia, psychologically, how divisive is this when we're having these types of conversations? They're attacking her. They're talking about civil war. They're talking about what's going to happen if Trump's not the person that goes into the office. What does that do for us intellectually, mentally, psychologically?
Yeah, I mean, they're pulling out all the stops when it comes to attacking her, and she's under such scrutiny. Like every step that she's ever made is just scrutinized, and not everybody's perfect. You can't, you know, label somebody based on what they did, one minute little thing that they did a long time ago. Yeah, she was a prosecutor. I mean, I was a social worker that worked at Department of Child and Family Services. That was my job at one point. I did my internship there when I was trying to be a social worker. You can't say, oh, Dr. Alicia, 20 years ago, you were taking babies away from their moms. I'm like, no, I worked in a system that did that, that's trying to protect children. And yeah, I mean, yeah, she was a prosecutor, but you know, that was embedded in her job. And so like that's the scrutiny that she is going to be under, and we are all going to witness this scrutiny that a lot of us as Black women, we connect to that because it mimics what goes on in our personal lives in a lot of different ways. When we go to work and we have to work with, you know, multiracial group of people and white people who scrutinize every little word you say and everything that you do. All of us have examples. I'm sure all of us have examples of how we have been slighted in some way and ourselves have been scrutinized. So now we're going to witness this, you know, and it's going to minimize her. We're going to see minimization of her accomplishments and maximization of any sort of mishap, mistake, who she slept with back at Freaknik. I don't know what's going on, right? You know, things like that where men aren't scrutinized. Like we're not scrutinized any of these men about their sexual history. I mean, we're going to see not only racism, but we're going to see the sexism and the patriarchal sort of response to that. And this rhetoric, it's just especially rhetoric that's promoted by political figures who are advocating for really hostile and punitive measures. It exacerbates in us racial trauma, historical trauma from slavery, right? And all of these things are exacerbated, and we're raw, you know, we're done. We've had enough. And it's almost like this wound that's with us is going to be activated and triggered. I really think that all of us need to, like I said before, we need to like come up with a way in ourselves where we can just shut this down and not interact with this and start get into our own little bubble that supports us and uplifts us, because we cannot look to news, we can't look to media, we can't look to these avenues to support us. It's going to be more divisiveness on both sides. It's going to be way more divisiveness. So we need to learn how to cut some of this off and distance ourselves from this, because it is just going to raise so many, that happened to me too, you know, all of this. So it's not very productive, but these injustices, we're going to see more of it.
So you made a lot of good points. One of the ones that you made that, well, racism, sexism, all of the things. I was going to say blackism, but you know what I mean, right? Melanatedism. And I feel like we're not even really looking at the real root of the stuff. Like those things are there, but we're still talking about going up against a felon, sexual predator, rapist. I mean, like we had we let's just call a spade at the end of the day. Like, even if I didn't look at his politics, I don't like him as a human being. And then if you look at his politics, and then you look that he's a bigot, if not a racist, at least a bigot at minimum, but probably a racist too. And then you look at his incitement and who his base is and who he speaks to. When I tell you I would vote for Kermit Frog first, I don't really care. The third parties and all that stuff, I think is great for people who want to go that route. And I don't, let me say, what is it? What do I call it? I don't vote for whoever makes your heart happy, whoever that person is. I just can only speak for myself. I'm not mad at people who vote for somebody different. It's your choice. If you want to send us back to slavery, that's your business. You can do that. If you choose money over legacy and your family and the things that are going to happen. That's your business. It's not for me to say. I just hope you sleep well at night. That's it. But it's not for me to say, right?
Yeah, and the
But
mental
racism
illness.
wait, hold on one second, Dr. Alicia.
Yeah.
I want to get to Vanessa. But race, it can't be based on race. So one of the myths, one of the things that we're hearing, one of the rhetorics that we're hearing about Kamala is around her blackness, right? Is she black? Is she not black? She's multiracial. She has all these different things. How black is she? Is she going to support black people? But no, not a single president has ever supported black people. Not Obama, not the one before him, not the one after him. They say they are the president of the United States, not just black people. Whenever a black president goes or a person goes up, we start asking, well, what are they going to do for black people? Well, what are any of them going to do for black people? What has any of them ever done for black people? But from the racial standpoint of blackness, Vanessa, I believe, is of Indian and black heritage, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
How do you feel when you hear and see a woman being attacked on her race based on the fact that she is multi-heritage as a woman who has multiple heritages?
You know, that's interesting. I had this conversation with a good friend the other day because when I looked at the way that the world has been receiving Kamala, I was like, wow, you know, it would be so interesting if I ran for office and somebody said that I wasn't black. I would be really taken aback. Um, and I think looking at Kamala's record and running, like you said, politically, you run as the United States president, like you just mentioned Barack. Barack didn't come out and say, I'm doing this for black people. Politically, it's, you know, but he did, in fact, do a lot for black people. So I think people have to understand politically what you're going up against. I mean, we had the first black president. Kamala was the first black attorney general woman, female in the state of California. So politically, looking at where she's trying to get and also looking at the bigger picture, she's a prosecutor. Of course, that's going to involve locking up people, which includes black people. I mean, it's a part of her job. Could she have done some things differently? Absolutely. But she's also, you know, done recidivism programs. She's pushed for money for HBCUs. So we can't be turn a blind eye to that and then just look at the things that she's done. Kamala is black. I am black. It would be odd for someone to identify me as not black, being that I have a black father, I have black family. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know. I identify as black. I mean, there's another cultural side of me, of course, uh, but in America, the way that I identify is black. And so I think it's very important for us not to be led astray by the divisiveness of it and look at her as a whole person and not just identify Kamala as you know, let's just not look at the fact that she's, you know, went to HBCU, she's a pledge AKA member, she has done things for the black community, but you know, she's a prosecutor, so that is going to include locking up black people. If you look at any black DA or prosecutor in America, they've locked up black people. So I mean, I think the argument is just a tool to get people to sway away from her, and I think we need to look deeper into the issue.
Thank you. Okay, before we transition, anybody else have any comments on this topic? Dr. Alicia, I know you're getting ready to say something.
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, I mean, collectively, people who the Republican Party has been very transparent in what they stand on. There's a manifesto attached to that. So now we know. And I feel like people who adhere to that, they do have I do think there's some mental illness there. There's a mental illness. And it's terrible to say, but I think we've clearly gotten to that point where they are diagnosable. Individuals who have, an entire group of people are now displaying what I would consider mental health, severe mental health problems. So a whole group of people can be mentally ill. That's all I was going to say. Yeah.
All right, Jay, do you want to add anything about the transition?
Well, yeah, no, whether I think Kamala Harris is not a Black American woman in terms of sharing my ethnic identity in this country as someone who's indigenous to America. Whether I believe she's Blackish or not really doesn't matter, because in system white supremacy, as Vanessa said, we're all Black. They see us as all excuse my language, one big nigga. So I wanted to note that. I think a lot of people are getting distracted by that conversation. There's one thing that I need to say, and I haven't found the right words to put it into a tweet with the limited amount of characters. I'm seeing a lot of Black people, Black women included, circulating pornographic, very, very degrading images of Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm not a VP Harris fan. I will not be voting for VP Harris. I will not be voting for Donald Trump. And at the same time, this sort of sexually exploitive and disrespectful gutter, like these images, are just not very, very helpful. It's dehumanizing. It's very, very immature. And you can choose to disagree with someone politically, and you don't have to dehumanize them. So I just wanted to put it out there that, you know, I'm really disheartened to see many of our people helping the white supremacists on the right denigrate Kamala Harris. And to them, she represents Black womanhood and all non-white women in general. So why help them with that? So I just wanted to put that out there.
So whether you agree with her politics, you don't agree with her politics, whether you're going to vote for her, you're not going to vote for her, at the end of the day, she is a Black woman and deserves our respect. If on nothing else, that. Constance, did you want to add something before we transition?
I don't think can you hear me? I don't think you can see me.
You are frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay, I just want to tell. I think I'm out. Am I out?
I can hear you. I don't know if people can
my
see
screen. My screen just totally went black. But I just wanted to say, if nothing more, I want women, whether they're Black, white, Asian, or whatever, just take this as a rallying cry to mobilize around this and get out and vote. It's disheartening to see a lot of men saying all of these false things about her not being Black. I believe she is Black. I've heard her say she is Black. Even if you are born, you are African, no matter where you're from. If you were born in America, her father has African descent. She is African American. She may not be an FBA Black American, but she is African American, and therefore she is Black. Ever heard of the one drop rule? They made it up. We didn't. So she's a Black woman. But beyond that, she's a woman. And so I think women, hopefully, you know, with everything they're saying, because even what's the Vice Vance? He said women without who don't have children shouldn't be running the country. The fuck? So just all of the crazy rhetoric that they're saying, you know, just to try to discredit her in one way or the other, it should actually wake people up to say, this ain't right. And we want to vote for what's right. So that's all I got to say. And I'm going to log off and log back on so y'all can see me in a minute.
Thank you. Can I clarify something real quick, Lene? I want to clarify the comment. Thank you for bringing that up, Constance. The comment that Trump's vice presidential running mate made is that people who don't have children should have less voting rights in American society. So if you have not biologically birthed children, you actually shouldn't get the right to vote. So this is literally something that he said in a stump speech. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So this sort of rhetoric, you know, is toxic, and it's out there, and we see where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
And really, I'm going to jump in really quick, just to piggyback off that. I think we also just have to recognize when we're being used. So like when you look at, you know, someone like Trump, and he has, you know, 3 different baby mamas, wives, whatever this man has going on. He's cheated on his wife. You know, he's a sex offender. I mean, the list goes on. And yet, you know, we'll see the narrative of dragging Kamala through the media of she's a whore and, you know, whatever else lies they choose. You know, we have to recognize when we're being used, when her Blackness is being weaponized to other Black people so that it creates division. And I think this is one of those scenarios. Like when you look at, you know, whether or not you agree that she's a Black American or she's not Black enough. I mean, I don't know. But the point is that they are using it as a tool to create division, the same way they do with colorism within the Black community. And we have to recognize when we're being used, and we're being used. So if we're not aware of that and recognizing that, then it's going to be counterproductive for our community.
So right before we pivot, I saw all the comments. Ooh, there was my earring. I saw all the comments about, but her dad, she doesn't have any Black, she's not African. So of course, beautiful that we can do this live. I had to look it up. Her father is Jamaican born. Jamaican would be considered black. So maybe we don't call her African, but she got black in her. Her father, Jamaican-born Donald J. Harris, and Indian Shyamala Gopalan, met at UC Berkeley, then had prominent careers. So yes, she does have black in her. Just to go ahead and close that. All right, so this is Fly Nubian Money. Again, you can catch us here every Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. If you text the word Queens to 87948, you can be reminded. You can get notified. You can find out when we are live, which is again Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. If you miss us here, you can listen to us on Spotify. If you go and search for Fly Nubian Money, you can listen to us on Spotify after the fact. And then if you are looking for some tools, resources around money and or business, you can go to flynubianmoney.com. So now we're going to switch topics and talk about the new updates in the Sonya Massey case. We have a video from her father accusing the police of cover-up, body cam footage of the officer calling her a bad name, and more about the officer's troubled past, including DUIs and losing his job. Let's go ahead and go to that video before we dive deeper.
You know, I'm hearing that you were told conflicting stories. What were you told, the circumstances of this shooting?
Well, I was never told that it was a deputy-involved shooting. We were under the impression that she was killed by the intruder or some other person from the street or something, and they just went in there and found her dead body. I did not find out that the deputies killed her until my brother asked for Sonya's address, and I gave it to him. And he said, "Brother, this says deputies involved." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But we were all misled to believe that. And then there was a story that this was self-inflicted, a self-inflicted gunshot.
Oh my goodness.
So I think the cover-up started from just right after it happened. And thank God for the body camera footage. It's probably the most horrible and heart-wrenching thing that we've ever seen in our lives. But if it were not for the body cam footage, we would not have known that this occurred.
Yes, I say thank goodness too for that body cam footage, because we in the video it clearly shows she was not approaching him with steaming hot water, number one, which is what he said at the beginning. When he was asked about the gun, clearly there was no gun. She had said to the officer, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," which seemed to set him off. What do you think she meant? What does that mean? What was going on that you think that she would say those words to him?
I think that she feared for her life. There was some premonition that she had. And it seems like he was just an emissary of Satan. And that's what caused him to do what he did. It's just unexplainable.
Yeah.
So tragic. I have not watched the video. I'm at a place in my life where I just cannot watch these videos anymore. I listen, I hear, I understand, I know, but I just cannot watch the video. So I have not seen the video, but I am aware of what happened. So if you are not aware of what happened, Sonya Massey was killed in her home, and the police tried to cover it up and say that she was attacking them with boiling water, and or that the intruder did it, and or blah, blah, blah. But the footage just came out this week, and we saw that that was not the case. Had the footage not come out, they might have got away with it, but they didn't. What are your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on this new evidence and the allegations as they are being presented to us now, Constance?
I mean, we know that they're liars. It just makes me think about how many more people this happened to with no body cams. You know, how many Black people were, these are just KKK in officer uniforms doing the KKK's dirty work. And how many Black men, women, and children have been executed. We know of a lot, because thank God for cell phones and body cams. But what about all the probably hundreds to thousands of Black people who were senselessly murdered by people who are supposed to protect and serve us? And that's what I think about. This was so brutal. This man shot her in the eye, and it came out through her neck for no reason. And it makes me sick to my stomach even thinking about it. And then I saw the he was clear. He didn't have, so it was funny because when they were outside after all the police came back, his body cam was now all of a sudden on. It was off. He knew what he went in there to do. Now when all the police officers there, now his body cam is on. But it was really sad to see the second officer, his body cam was still on, and he was at his truck and he was like, shit. What the fuck? Like, he was truly disturbed at what he just saw, because he knew it was senseless and he got him caught up in some bullshit. And I feel bad for him, because what do you do in a situation like this? You know, I got to have my partner's back, but the fuck just happened? And then I'm hearing like rumors that she was just discharged from a hospital that his girlfriend worked at, and perhaps they had some kind of run-in and he went in to do her dirty work for her. So I don't know, but it's just all, you know, it's all very sad.
It is all disheartening. Jay, do you have more details and more background on the situation? Can you fill us in with the information that you have?
Absolutely. Sonya Massey was 36 years old. She was a Black woman, and she was also a mother. The white sheriff's deputy in Illinois killed her. And this incident happened about 2 weeks before the anniversary of the lynching, I will call it, of Sandra Bland. And so we're also seeing the hashtag Say Her Name come up. So this is what happened. Sonya Massey, she called 911 on July the 6th. Let's be clear. This incident happened on July the 6th, and the body cam footage wasn't released until nearly 20 days later on July the 23rd. So I wanted to note that. A lot of folks, you know, were in the dark, especially the family, because the body camera, we didn't see the actual evidence. But she called 911 early on July the 6th due to concerns about a potential intruder outside of her home. The body camera footage shows the Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy, his name was Sean Grayson, and another deputy knocking on her door and shouting at her to come outside. One deputy tells Sonya, quote, "Are you coming to the door or not? Hurry up," end quote. So the interaction already started off very, very aggressively from a deputy. As Sonya, she tried to explain her concerns about, you know, she thought maybe that she heard someone outside around her house. The deputies say that they hadn't seen anyone around her house, and they questioned her about a vehicle that was in her driveway. And then they told her to go inside to get her ID. And so they followed her inside, and she had a pot of boiling water on the stove. And according to reports, deputies asked Sonya to check on a pot of water on the stove. And then she said, you know, she was going to turn it off. And they moved away, kind of like from the stove. And Sonya was like, "Where are you going?" One deputy laughed and replied, "Away from your hot steaming water." And so then Sonya says, quote, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And that's when the tension started to escalate. And then Grayson said, the deputy said, quote, excuse my language, y'all, quote, "You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face," end quote. And both the deputies then draw their guns and demand that Massey drop the pot. She was not coming at them with a pot of hot water or anything like that. And then she said, quote, "Okay, I'm sorry," as she tries to duck out of the way. And then Grayson shot her and killed her. So that's what transpired on the video. Now, in terms of Deputy Sean Grayson, he has been fired and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. He has pleaded not guilty. Okay. President Biden also did make a statement about this on Monday. He said, quote, "Sonya Massey, a beloved mother, friend, daughter, and young Black woman, should be alive today. Sonya's family deserves justice. I'm heartbroken for her children and her entire family as they face this unthinkable and senseless loss." But nowhere in Biden's statement did he say anything about punishing Deputy Grayson. Finally, I want to say this before I turn it back over to Lene. All right, let's go to, because I have so many stats here about like even women that are fatally killed by the police. and the number of Black people that are killed by the police, and how Black women are at high risk of being killed by the police when we're cornered, and especially when we're alone. However, let's look at Sean Grayson's, the deputy who's now fired. Let's look at his record. So the ex-deputy charged with the murder of Sonya Massey had worked with multiple police agencies since 2020. It is now 2024. Okay, so he worked part-time at 3 small police departments, and he worked full-time at 1 department and 2 sheriff's offices in central Illinois. All right, so he has bounced around 3 small police departments and 1 department and 2 sheriff's offices since 2020. This does not seem like a stable, at all stable individual that should be in law enforcement. And this is why the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is important, because we need to track these police officers after they commit such heinous acts. They should not be able to transfer to other departments. So I'm gonna stop there. So thank you all for letting me share those facts.
Thank you for sharing the facts. Again, a wealth of knowledge. Vanessa, how do you think a case like this adds to the mistrust between the Black community and the police?
I mean, I think it exacerbates it, because we see this time and time again. I mean, this is like, we're talking about this 2-3 times a year. I mean, we could just, it's exhausting. Mentally, it's exhausting. Because, that could have been my aunt. It could have been me. You could open it. It's scary that you can open your door and not be doing anything wrong, and someone can come in your house and tell you to go to the stove and turn off the stove or what, and then just shoot you. I mean, that's so unsettling. I don't, so it's exhausting. I mean, and it's frustrating. This, when I saw that video, it really like shook me, as I'm sure anyone who saw the video, especially Black women. But she was not a threat. She was small. This idea that white men feel threatened when you have 2 men with guns and armed. She's so much smaller. I mean, it's just bullshit. I mean, it's I don't know what needs to be done to stop it. I mean, my biggest thing is, get out and vote. We need policies in place that stop cops from moving around after they've done heinous crimes. But furthermore, we need to control how our local dollars are issued to policing, whether that's more thorough background checks, psychological tests, or so we can see, biases more clearly. He has a tattoo on his arm. I think personally that should disqualify you. You have a way. You shouldn't be a police officer if you have so it's exhausting. All I can say is please show up and vote at your local elections. Who your mayor is, who your board of commissioners are, who your chief of police is, really truly matters. And get on the line with those people to make sure they aren't getting police officers like this in your community. But absolutely, it ignites more fear, anger, anxiety, and in the Black community. And because this was really, I don't even have words for it. Like, it's just, it pisses me off in my soul.
As it should. It should with all of us. Dr. Leisha, I'm going to give you the last question, but I'm going to ask one more question before I get to that one, which I think is an important question. Why is this case important for the upcoming election? Let's talk about why this case is important with Project 2025 on the loose. Constance and Jade, I'm gonna let you two weigh in on this, and then I'm gonna go to Alicia with our last question. Why is this case, not that any of the other ones are not important, but right now with the presidency as it is, with Project 2025 as it is, why is this case important for the upcoming election, Constance?
Well, we know Donald Trump said he was going to give the police full immunity.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, this murderer gets full immunity. So if you don't vote for anything else, you have to vote for that, because we are not safe, Black people. My boys, I got 3 boys, they are not safe. My daughter, not even me as a woman, being a Black woman, I'm not safe. So yeah, that's why we should.
Jade, you can answer that, or you can answer what should be done to ensure accountability and transparency in such cases. Either or.
We definitely need anti-Black hate crime bill, and we definitely need bills such as the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. There needs to be full transparency with body camera footage. Body camera footage should not be redacted, edited, or held hostage for weeks, months, years at a time. We need to see that evidence, and so at the local level, we need to fight and make sure that we get referendums put on ballots and passed through so that body camera footage is released within 24 to 48 hours at least. We did something very similar in DC. I worked on several officer involved killings, unfortunately, between 2020 and 2021. And there was a huge difference when that body camera footage was released, but some of it, again, they redact certain parts of it. So those are my suggestions. We definitely need to vote for district attorneys. We just need to pay attention all around every single aspect of the political system, every single office that we can definitely impact. And also, I'm a huge fan of community policing. We've had community policing organizations of men out there doing their thing for generations, and we definitely do need that as well. And then we also we need a buddy system. We need neighborhood watches. We should be able to call on each other. And, for example, if there's a domestic violence issue, we should be able to call on a neighbor or someone to help to de-escalate it. If we fear that someone is stalking or is, sort of hanging out around our houses, we should be able to call a neighbor to really help us sort through those things, because we never know what could happen when law enforcement shows up. So those are some of my suggestions and tips in terms of Project 2025, everything Constance said.
Awesome. And so, Dr. Alicia, as a therapist, can you talk about the emotional impact such cases have on the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think all instances of police brutality and all the unjust killings of unarmed Black individual, I think it extends far beyond what's happening with the immediate families that are affected. And by the way, I mean, I cannot imagine what this family is going through, getting all these conflicted information. I mean, this exacerbates, right, the mistrust of the police officers and the whole criminal justice or the system, criminal justice system. It exacerbates all of that trust that's being eroded away, and them not getting straight answers. It sounds like a cover up. It sounds like we're not going to get justice. I don't trust what's going on. There was a video that circulated around of all of the police officers in her front lawn. Every single police officer was a white male police officer. I saw no diversity on that police force. And granted, it's Springfield. That's a very, there's some diversity there. That's the state capital, right, of Illinois. You tell me you can't find diverse police officers? So this sort of racial trauma, it really manifests deep-seated anxieties and fear of safety for not only ourselves, but our loved ones. All of this psychological scars, which I experience myself. I'm witnessing it with you guys, hearing about these tragedies. It can exacerbate PTSD in us as individuals, anxiety, depression, and it just creates this environment where the threat of violence really seems like omnipresent in a sense. And it compounds, I think we've all talked about this historical trauma that's tied to slavery and systemic oppression and all of these things. And that it's really our collective identity as Black people today. So, I mean, what we need to do is we need to find some healthy outlets. I'm going back to us as individuals. We need to find some healthy outlets to distance ourselves from some of this. It can become overwhelming. Nothing feels more helpless than to just have the fate of our lives in the hands of someone else. So I love the whole idea of the community organizing that Jade talked about, and having these ways for us to get together. Channels like this, Fly Nubian Queen, we all can, this is helpful. Hopefully this will raise our awareness, but it will also be empowering because there's people in the chat supporting each other. You use social media in a way that's less helpful and healthy for you. And, just turn some of that negativity off. So I really think that we're now just being tested in the gross negligence of these systems that's supposed to support us, that we pay our tax-paying dollars go to this. And yeah, I love what Vanessa is saying. Not only do we need to vote in our local elections, but we need to follow up with our vote and hold everybody accountable to the platform on which they voted. I mean, look at this election. I think let's just focus on the issues instead of the people, right? People are flawed, right? But the platforms, there are websites you can go to where you can answer questions about values that you hold dear and near to your heart. And you can ask those questions, answer those questions. And based on your answers, they will tell you, okay, this political person who is running for election, this is what they believe in. And you can really make objective choices about who to vote for based on what's important to you instead of this emotional tie to it. So I think that's a wonderful way for us to smartly think about what to do and then vote in that way, and then distance ourselves from all of these emotionally charged, triggering things that are happening to us.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Alicia. Thank you to everybody who has chimed in and tuned in on today's Fly Nubian Money. We're going to go ahead and go around the room to make sure that you guys know where you can find all of our queens that were here today. If you guys can just tell people what your handle is and where they can find you, and then we'll go ahead and close out our session for today. We'll start with you, Constance.
It's your girl, Constance Carter, and you can find me anywhere. I am Constance Carter, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm always here, and I'm always trying to put out thought-provoking content for you. So make sure you follow me and subscribe.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jade Harrell.
Yes, my name is Jade Harrell. I'm an organizer, educator, and consultant. And you can find me where the money resides. You can find me over at highblackesteem.com. And you can also find me at Lioness Crowned on social media platforms.
Awesome. Thank you. She said where the money reside. Vanessa.
I'm Vanessa Gopal, general contractor, entrepreneur. You can find me on social media at VGopal, VGOPAUL. My business is Winter Remodeling, Inc. And thank you guys for having me. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat too.
Thank you for being here with us. Dr. Alicia?
I'm Dr. Alicia. You can contact me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia for individual coaching and couples coaching. You can also find me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia.
Sweet. Thank you, queens, for being here. I am Dr. Lene Javette. You can find me online at I am Dr. Lene Javette. We always appreciate you guys coming in and sitting with us and giving us your feedback and engaging with us. We do not take it for granted. We do this every Monday through Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern. You can find us here at Fly Nubian Money. If you want to get notified, you can text the word Queens, QUEENS, to the number 87948, and you can get a notification. That way you don't ever have to miss us live. But if you do, you can go and find us on Spotify. Look for Fly Nubian Money on Spotify, and you can listen to the replay. You can also go to flynubianmoney.com to get tools and resources around business and money. We appreciate you. We love you. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Go out into the world and be blessed, be Black, and be one. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.